So this is take 2. So hello there. This is The Survivor's Guide to Life. My name is Jessica Lang, and this channel is all things related to trauma, the brain, and healing. So if that's your jam, click that subscribe button down below so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And while you're at it, jump on over to Instagram. You can follow me there, and where I give more tips and tricks on healing, on trauma, on the brain, just everything related to that topic, plus some other random thoughts and pictures of my life as well. So if you're interested, follow me on Instagram and then jump back over here and watch more of my videos. Okay, so today's topic was supposed to be all about attachment, and what happened was I videoed, I can't speak English, I recorded a video yesterday, and for the first like 15 minutes of the video, it was extremely blurry, and I didn't realize that till I went into editing and saw that most of it was blurry. The whole beginning part was blurry. So I'm doing a take 2. I hope it's as good as the first one. So don't be kind of thrown off by like halfway through the video. I look a little bit different. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. So the topic is all about attachment and how attachment disruptions are early insecure attachment can actually cause trauma and trauma symptoms. People think about attachment, they kind of think secure attachment good, insecure attachment bad, without really kind of understanding like what exactly insecure attachment is or what secure attachment is. And when you're talking about attachment, all we're really talking about is bonding, right? Connecting with your baby, your child, with another person. That's like the most simplistic way of describing it. So how secure attachment is formed is basically by attunement. You have to remember that even though you might have created, you and your partner or spouse or whomever have created this beautiful baby, that it is still a human being, right? It is an individual made up of its own parts, made up of its own physiology, its own biology, and so you need to spend some time getting to know what your baby's individual needs are that may be different from maybe your previous children or your friend's child. Really what you're talking about when you're talking about attunement is focusing on your child's specific needs and how they communicate that needs and how you go about providing them with what they need and what they want in a timely and consistent, safe, nurturing manner. That's pretty much how you build secure attachment. It sounds very easy, but of course it can be very hard because in the beginning, the only way a baby knows how to communicate is through crying. So you have to kind of learn what their cries mean, what their needs are. You're going to mess up, you're going to give them the wrong thing, and you're just going to keep on trying. And that's what we call like a relational repair. It's the act of you going in and trying again and trying your best to like meet that child's needs, and then over time you start to learn what their different cues mean, and you'll get it more right than wrong over time. It's like in any relationship. Over time you start to learn what makes a person tick, what a person needs, how to support somebody, etc., etc. So that's what you're doing with your baby, and that's how secure attachments form. I also want to just kind of say that, when it comes to insecure attachment versus secure attachment, I want to take out this kind of like idea of intentionality, because I feel like people have a lot of judgment, like, okay, this is good, secure attachment is good, insecure attachment is bad, and that puts a lot of judgment. And we think of like insecure attachment as like children who've been neglected or abused, and really it's not that. That's a piece of it, but it's really about not just misattunement, but like a lack of relational repair, inconsistency with parenting or not meeting the person's emotional needs. I know for previous generations, there was a whole belief about, not holding, if you hold a baby too much, you're spoiling them, right? Or like crying out methods and things like that. And the truth of the matter is your baby does not have the ability to regulate themselves. So they need you to regulate them. And so in the process of kind of figuring out what the baby needs and figuring out what different cries mean, you're helping to alleviate their distress and their discomfort by being there for them and providing them with safe love, nurturing, and support. But if you become frustrated or you shake your baby or screaming, because you're frustrated, and it makes sense that you're frustrated, it's what we do with our frustrations that matter, right? what you're doing is instilling fear and instilling anxiety. It's not something you intend to do. You're not trying to hurt your child. You're just frustrated, or you're trying to alleviate their distress the best way you know how, and you're frustrated because you don't know how, or it's not working, and then you lash out. And now over time, and again, this is not like you did it one time and now your baby's like permanently scarred and is going to be insecurely attached forever, right? It's a pattern of repetitive behaviors of maybe inconsistency, or you're screaming at your baby, or you're shaking your baby, you're acting out in anger, or you're not meeting their needs, right? That kind of a thing. It's that over time that causes that insecure attachment. And when you're looking at insecure attachment, there's 3 different kinds that I'm not going to go into in this video, but if you want to know more, like, let me know and I'll do a video talking about them specifically. But when you think about it, one of the things that they all kind of have in common is there's a lot of fear and anxiety in relationship with somebody else, and that's based on like those previous encounters where the parent, the caregiver, was not a safe person, right? Instead of calming the baby or feeling, making the baby or child feel loved and supported and nurtured, they instilled that they kicked up that stress response system that I constantly talk about in all my videos, because I talk about the brain. That fear response it triggers the stress response system, and now you're talking about your fight, flight, freeze mode. And over time, this becomes like a way of coping. And what you will frequently see with kids with attachment issues is a lot of dissociation, because they're so young and vulnerable that they can't escape it. They can't fight their way out of it. So the body shuts down in preparation of being harmed. And I just want to say, the truth of the matter is that we all parent in the way that we know how, right? We do it to the best of our abilities with as much love and good intention as possible, and that we parent the way we've been parented, whether that means we've actively taken the things that we liked about what our parents did and what we didn't like and do things differently, or we're kind of unconscious about what we're doing and we're just doing what we learned how to, how we were parented. Again, the goal is still to create a loving, happy environment for your child. That's what your intent is. That's what that's what you try to do. And sometimes you miss the mark, right? We all miss the mark. And that's, again, misattunement. And the healing comes about with the relational repair, right? When you get that insecure attachment, it's not just the misattunement or the mismatch, but it's not repairing afterwards. It's becoming a scary or frightening individual. One of the things that I see most commonly, and again, this is why I say, like, attunement to your child is based on their own specific needs. I know people who love hugs, love cuddles, and there are some babies who don't like that type of stimulation. They're not huggy babies, they're not cuddly babies. And so that might be the way you show love and how you feel loved, is by being very affectionate and hugging and cuddling. And for your baby, they might need something else. But if you go about constantly infringing or trying to hug on them and snuggle them, and they start crying or they push you away, you may feel rejected and either then start pushing them away because it's a mismatch, or you don't listen to that cue and you keep infringing your way on them. What you're doing is creating a lot of anxiety, right? And this is not, it happened once or twice and like that's the end of it. This is like a repeated pattern, because you have to remember that during this time your baby's brain is developing so fast. They're making connections based off of these experiences that they're having. What's happening in the external environment mixing in there with what's happening in the internal environment, and it's creating a kind of a code or like a template for what's going to happen in the future, right? So predicting what's going to happen in the future, and that's how we all do that. That's how that's how we survive. Otherwise, if we were constantly taking in new information and not processing and not putting it in various categories, we would be easily overwhelmed. So this is just a way of like having that kind of template so that your brain can see something, match it to something it already knows, and then know how to respond. It's trying to be fast, it's trying to be efficient, it's what we all do. And so when you're infringing on your baby, not reading their cues, right, and doing what feels right for you, not what feels right for them, you're creating a lot of anxiety. And you now, instead of becoming that safe, nurturing person, you're seen as a threat. The body receives you as like the threat, and anybody like you as a threat. Again, I'm making it sound like more simplistic than it is, and it's a little bit more complex, but this is how insecure attachments form. It's not because the person wants to necessarily harm their child, although we know there are people who do intentionally harm their children. It's not about that. It's just not reading the cues and not having any type of relational repair to rectify that. So a lot of parents do this by placing developmentally inappropriate expectations on their children. So for example, there's a whole theory or method of parents trying to potty train their children by the time they're 18 months. And, if you are trying this method, there's nothing wrong with doing it. I'm not judging people who do this. Let's say you're one of the parents who's trying to do this and your baby is not being successful. Well, you could say, oh, okay, maybe my baby's not ready. Like, we'll keep the diapers, no big deal, right? You try to make it fun and all that, and you realize, it's not going to work. Okay, I'm just going to let it go, right? That's one way of doing things. And then another way is being like, I'm going to keep doing it and forcing this down until my kid gets it, and you're becoming frustrated through the process. What you do with the first option is like, okay, I tried something, it didn't work. I'm reading my baby's cues, no big deal, move on. You are attuning to your baby's needs. You're helping them feel connected to you. They trust you. You're a safe person. You're nurturing them. Okay, there's no loss. There's no fear of loss of love because you're not losing your temper. You're not, trying to force something on them that they're just developmentally not ready to do. But if you take the second method and you become really frustrated and agitated, what you're doing is creating a lot of anxiety in that child. And that anxiety, it can be extended now across other avenues of their life. So now what you have is a child who becomes insecurely attached and fearful, and he may try to overcompensate or do certain things to kind of keep you close, but you're creating a lot of anxiety. So that's like a kind of minor example. And again, this is not like you do one thing and your kid's like insecurely attached. Like, it's not like that. But typically what happens is that it's not that one instance, but if you looked over like the course of your parenting, or as a person growing up thinking about your own childhood, it's not one instance of your parents doing something, right? But it's several instances that if you look at them, you have that undercurrent theme of like trying to make you do, or like having an expectation of you that you can't arise to, and feeling a lot of fear and like your parents don't care about you, or that you won't matter, or that they're going to withdraw their love, or whatever, that creates a lot of anxiety. So as you get older, right, this might be displayed in like people-pleasing behavior. So you never say I don't like this, or no thank you to this. You just kind of always stuff your needs down because you don't want that other person to leave you, right? So that's like an example of how that develops, and how that insecure attachment, those traumas, right, become something that you do over time. That's an example of kind of how something starts during your childhood, right? That attachment foundation, now it's into your adult relationships, and it's causing you problems. It's that fear. It's the fear and anxiety around connecting with somebody else. That's the hallmark of insecure attachment. So again, it's not like a one and done. It's not, oh my God, my baby's going to be scarred for life. But just looking at kind of themes in your life, if you're an adult looking back on your childhood and you're trying to figure out why you're picking certain partners, and why things aren't working out, or why you can't, why something feels off in your relationships, examine those experiences from your childhood. What messages were given to you? What was kind of like that fear, that anxiety, that undercurrent that was the underpinning of the relationship you had with your parents, right? If you're a parent and you're watching this video and you're like, okay, I want to do the best for my baby, how do I have a secure and healthy bond with my kid? Just attuning to their needs. You're just trying to figure out, getting to know them as a person, what they want, what they need, how things work for them, and you're trying your best at doing it, at accomplishing it. If you are a parent who, like, maybe you have some stuff in your past and you're worried about how that's going to affect you later, again, just get curious about your behaviors. Watch what you're doing. Pay attention to what's happening in your body in certain moments. Do you feel disconnected? Do you feel yourself shutting down when your baby cries? Do you feel yourself getting really, really frustrated or yelling? What are the things that you're doing? And examine why that's happening for you, so that you can then go about making the changes that you need so that you can do better. So that's all I have for you today. If you found this video helpful, please comment down below. Let me hear from you what you liked, what you didn't like. If you want me to talk more about attachment, and specifically going into the different types of insecure attachment, drop a comment down below and let me know, and I'll do a video. So with that, I will see you in the next one.